Okay, get ready because today we are diving deep into something that can feel like a whole other language.
Oh, yeah.
Legalese.
Right.
It's like you hear these words thrown around in courtrooms, on TV,
Yeah.
or maybe even, in real life if you've ever had to deal with any kind of legal stuff. And it can be so intimidating.
Absolutely.
But we're going to break it down today
Yeah, we're
and
going to
demystify 10 of the most common legal terms.
unlock the secrets.
Unlock the secrets, yeah. So that, next time you hear one of these words,
You'll know exactly what's going on.
you'll know exactly what they're talking about.
Oh.
You'd be like, hey, I'm not intimidated by that.
Exactly.
So are you ready to jump in?
I am ready, yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. So the terms we're going to tackle today are
Okay.
litigant, admissible, remand, pleadings, mediation, pro se,
Oh, see.
preponderance of evidence, interrogatories,
Interrogatories.
sequestration, and clemency.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
That is a mouthful.
But they're all important.
There. All right. So let's start with litigant.
Okay.
It sounds so formal, right? Like,
Yeah.
is it just anyone who's in a courtroom?
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
It refers specifically to the parties involved in a lawsuit.
Okay.
So think of it like, like every legal battle has its champions.
Right.
And the litigants are those key players
Okay.
on either side of the fight.
Got it.
So we're talking about the plaintiff,
Yeah.
the one bringing the lawsuit, and the defendant, the one who is, on the defense.
Right. So it's not just anyone in the courtroom.
Exactly.
It's specifically the people who are actually involved in the case.
Yeah, the ones duking it out.
Duking it out. Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah. So like in that, that really big defamation lawsuit between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Oh, yeah.
They were the litigants.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's like it kind of
carries a lot of weight, that term.
it does. It carries a lot of weight. It's not just some legal label. It's like who's at the center of this whole thing?
Absolutely. It's the heart of the matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, you can't just throw anything into the ring in this legal battle, though, right? That's
Right.
where admissible comes in.
Admissible. Okay.
Yeah.
So this makes me think of those courtroom scenes.
Oh, yeah.
You see on TV where the lawyers are like, objection,
All the time.
all the time, right?
Yeah. Objection, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what makes something admissible?
Well, it all boils down to rules and standards.
Okay.
Evidence has to meet certain criteria to be considered by the court.
Okay.
Like, imagine trying to submit a funny meme
Right.
as proof.
Yeah.
The judge would be like, what? No.
But get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So admissible evidence has to be reliable.
Right.
It has to be relevant to the case.
Right.
And it has to be obtained legally.
So it's got to be like solid.
It has to hold up under scrutiny.
Yeah.
You can't just, make stuff up or pull things out of thin air.
Right. There has to be like a real basis for it.
Exactly.
Right.
And this concept is important for all of us, even if we're not lawyers.
Right.
Because when we hear about trials in the news,
Oh, yeah.
understanding what makes evidence admissible
You're right.
helps us critically evaluate, is this case really as strong as it's being presented?
That's a good point.
Or is there something fishy going on?
Yeah. Like you can't just take everything at face value.
Exactly.
You got to think about like, okay, well, is this even allowed in court?
Right, exactly.
Okay. That's a really good point.
So admissible evidence, it's all about making sure the right information is being considered
Right.
by the judge and the jury.
Okay, so on to a term that kind of sends shivers down my spine a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Remand.
Rand.
It just sounds so final.
Yeah, it's a heavy word.
Yeah, like slamming a jail cell door or something.
I can see why it would give you the chills,
Yeah.
but it's not always about jail time. Remand can actually mean a couple of different things.
Okay.
So in one sense, it can refer to sending a case back down to a lower court
Okay.
for further proceedings.
Gotcha.
So this might happen if a higher court, finds an error in the original trial,
Yep.
or if there's new evidence that needs to be looked at.
So it's kind of like hitting the reset button on a specific part of the case.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's like, okay, we need to re-examine this
Right.
before we can move forward.
Okay.
So it definitely adds a twist
Yeah.
to the legal process.
Yeah, like a little bit of a plot twist.
Exactly, like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen?
Okay. But it also applies to situations where someone is actually sent back into custody.
Right. So that's the other meaning of remand.
Okay.
It can refer to, someone being sent back to jail while they're awaiting trial,
Right.
or after a court appearance if the judge decides that's necessary.
So it's like, it's got a double meaning.
It does. It's a versatile word.
Yeah.
But both meanings have to do with this idea of sending someone or something back, back to where it came from, essentially.
Got it.
So whether it's a case being sent back to a lower court or a person being sent back to jail, remand signifies this return.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to pleadings.
Okay.
Is this as dramatic as it sounds? Like,
It's not quite the nail-biting courtroom scene you might imagine.
Okay.
Pleadings are actually more about setting the stage for the legal battle.
Okay.
They're the formal written statements that each side presents to the court, outlining their claims and the legal basis for their case.
So it's like you're laying out your legal strategy on paper before you even step foot in the courtroom.
It's like the blueprint for the battle ahead. It's where everything starts to take shape.
So it's not the actual, arguing in court.
Not the dramatic speeches.
Right. It's like
It's the groundwork.
the groundwork, yeah.
It's all about meticulous preparation.
Okay.
And presenting your case in a clear, logical, and persuasive way.
Gotcha. Okay.
So pleadings are a crucial first step in the legal process.
Okay, that makes sense.
And they really set the tone for what's to come.
Okay, so speaking of kind of avoiding that courtroom drama, what about mediation?
Mediation.
Yeah.
Now, that's a much more peaceful path than going to trial.
Yeah.
It's all about finding common ground outside the adversarial setting of a courtroom.
Okay.
So instead of having a judge and jury decide the outcome,
Right.
the parties involved in the dispute, they work together with the help of a neutral third party to reach a mutually acceptable agreement.
So it's less about, winning or losing.
Exactly.
And more about finding a solution that everyone can live with.
It's about compromise
Right.
and finding a resolution that addresses everyone's needs as best as possible.
So mediation can be really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
In all sorts of situations.
Right.
I'm imagining, workplace disputes.
Workplace disputes.
Family disagreements.
Contract issues.
Right, where it's you don't want to necessarily go to court.
Right.
And have this big...
It can escalate things.
Right, yeah, and make it even worse.
Exactly.
So mediation is a way to
kind of step back from that
Right.
and say, okay, let's try to find a solution.
Right, a more amicable solution.
Exactly, without all the drama.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
And the cost, of course.
Yeah.
Going to trial can be very expensive.
Right, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So what about those people who decide to, kind of go it alone?
Oh, yeah.
In the legal system, they don't hire a lawyer.
The brave souls.
Yeah, what's that called again?
That's called pro se.
Pro se, okay.
Which is a Latin term. That means for oneself. Okay. Essentially, it means representing yourself in court.
Okay, pro se, it sounds...
It's intimidating.
It does sound intimidating.
Yeah.
But also, really brave.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage and confidence.
Is it ever a good idea?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Oh.
On the one hand, it can save you money.
Right.
Lawyer fees can be really high.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the legal system is very complex.
Right.
It's intricate. There are lots of rules and procedures. And if you're not familiar with those, it can be really easy to make mistakes.
Right. And you're also going up against,
experienced lawyers.
Who
know this stuff inside and out.
Yeah.
So
it's they eat, sleep, and breathe.
Exactly.
Legalese, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's generally not recommended.
Right.
Unless it's a very straightforward case.
Okay.
Like maybe a small claims court situation where the stakes aren't as high.
Yeah.
But for anything more complex,
right.
It's really best to have a lawyer by your side.
Yeah, don't try to be a hero.
Exactly. Leave it to the professionals.
Yeah, all right. Good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about a phrase that I hear all the time.
Okay.
But I don't really understand, and that's preponderance of evidence.
Preponderance of evidence.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So how does that differ from, beyond a reasonable doubt?
Okay, great question.
Which we hear about all the time in criminal cases.
Right.
Right.
So beyond a reasonable doubt is a much higher standard that's used in criminal cases.
Okay.
It means that the prosecution has to prove the defendant's guilt to a very high degree of certainty.
Okay.
There can't be any real doubt as to whether they committed the crime.
Okay.
But preponderance of evidence is a lower standard that's used in civil cases.
Okay.
And it basically means that the evidence presented Shows that it's more likely than not
Okay.
that something happens.
So it's not about absolute certainty.
Exactly.
It's just about what's more probable.
It's about tipping the scales of justice.
Right.
Slightly in one direction.
Okay, so it's not like 100%.
Right.
But it's like more than 50%?
Exactly. More likely than not.
Okay.
So it's still a significant burden of proof.
Right.
But it's not as high as beyond a reasonable doubt.
All right, that makes sense.
And this standard is used in a lot of different civil cases.
Okay, like what?
Like contract disputes, personal injury lawsuits, all sorts of things where the consequences aren't as severe as in a criminal case.
Gotcha. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about interrogatories?
Interrogatories.
Yeah, that just sounds
like a medical procedure.
It really does, like something scary.
Yeah, like you're going to be poked and prodded.
Yeah.
But don't worry, it's not that bad. In the legal world, interrogatories are all about getting information.
Okay.
They're written questions that are exchanged between the parties involved in a lawsuit.
Okay.
It's part of the discovery process, which is this phase where each side gets to ask the other side for information, documents, evidence, all sorts of things.
Okay.
So think of interrogatories like a legal Q&A session, but in writing.
Okay.
And under oath.
Okay, so it's serious stuff.
It is serious stuff.
Yeah.
The answers to these questions, they can really impact the case.
Okay.
They can reveal inconsistencies, expose weaknesses, and even lead to the discovery of new witnesses.
Okay, so it's like this whole like back and forth.
Exactly.
To uncover everything.
It's like a chess match.
Yeah.
Each side is trying to outmaneuver the other.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And get the information they need to build their case.
All right, so speaking of things that sound a little bit intense.
Okay.
What about sequestration?
Sequestration.
Yeah.
That one always makes me think of juries. Locked away.
Yeah, like in a hotel somewhere.
Exactly. Shielded from the outside world.
No phones, no TV, no internet.
No contact with family and friends sometimes.
It sounds like a very extreme measure.
It can be.
Yeah.
But it serves a very important purpose.
Okay, what's that?
Well, the goal of sequestration is to prevent outside influences from affecting the jury's decision.
Right.
So we want the jurors to base their verdict solely on the evidence presented in court, not on anything they might hear or see in the news or on social media.
So it's really about like preserving the integrity of the legal process.
Exactly. It's about ensuring a fair trial. For everyone involved.
So it's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Yeah.
And it can be really challenging for the jurors who have to be sequestered.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
You know, they're away from their families.
Right.
Their routines, their lives.
Yeah.
For days, weeks, sometimes even months.
Wow.
It's a big commitment.
It is.
But it's a vital one to ensure justice is served.
Okay, so for our last term, let's talk about clemency.
Clemency.
It sounds
almost regal, right?
It does, yeah.
Like something out of a history book.
Yeah.
But it's still relevant today.
Okay.
Clemency is an act of mercy or leniency that's typically granted by a high-ranking official, like a president or a governor.
Okay.
It offers relief from the consequences of a criminal conviction.
Okay.
So this could be in the form of a pardon,
right,
which completely wipes away the conviction.
Okay.
Or it could be a commutation of sentence,
okay,
which reduces the punishment,
gotcha,
but doesn't erase the conviction itself.
Okay, so it's basically a way to, like,
show mercy, acknowledge that, you know, sometimes circumstances change, people make mistakes, and they deserve a second chance.
Okay, yeah.
But it's often controversial. You know, some people argue that clemency undermines justice. Others believe it's a necessary part of a compassionate legal system.
So it's really about, like...
It's a complex issue.
Yeah, with, like, a lot of different perspectives.
Definitely.
Okay, so we have covered so much ground today.
We have.
It's amazing, like...
a whirlwind tour of legalese.
It is, and I feel like, you know, at the beginning of this episode, I was intimidated by all these terms.
Yeah.
But now I actually feel like I understand them.
That's the goal, to empower you.
Right, yeah.
With knowledge.
So next time I hear one of these words, you know, whether I'm watching a legal drama or reading a news article, or even, you know, just encountering it in real life, I'm not going to be scared anymore.
No, you'll know what's up.
I'll be like, hey, I know what that means.
You got this. You're a legal eagle now.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
Into the world of legal terminology.
It was a fun one.
It was, yeah.
I always enjoy demystifying the law.
Yeah, me too. All right, so to all our listeners out there, keep those legal dictionaries handy.
Yes.
And stay curious.
Stay curious.
Until next time.
Until next time.